Good morning, afternoon or evening YouTubers, this is Zachariah, in for our second episode of Zaxplains, the PvP guide for Arsenal Mercs and Gunnery Commandos. Gear and build aside, which we looked at in the previous episode, there are four main factors that really govern your DPS and total damage done in a warzone relative to everybody else. There is positioning and awareness, which we're going to look at in the next episode, but today we're going to talk about the basic PvP rotation and APM, or actions per minute. Before we start, let's take a quick look at a few of our attacks and some of the extra things they do other than straight damage. Your priming shot ability debuffs your target, making it take more ranged damage. It also allows the next tracer missile to be cast instantly. Your tracer missile does the following: debuffs the target with heat signature, which reduces armor, allows you to cast rail shot, and increases the damage from heat seeker. It adds 2 stacks of tracer lock, which increases the magnitude and crit of your next rail shot or rapid scan, as well as reducing the cast time of the latter, with a maximum of 5 stacks. And it procs barrage, which resets the cooldown of blazing bolts and buffs its damage significantly. Barrage has an 8-second internal cooldown, so you should ideally be looking to proc this as close to every 8 seconds as possible. Your rapid shots, tracer missile, colto shot and rapid scan all add a stack of supercharged cell when cast. As you are running between nodes, you can spam colto shot on yourself to build stacks before each fight. Okay, so rotations. What is a rotation? A rotation is a set of attacks chained together in a certain order. After you performed the last attack in the chain, you can start again from the beginning. In a perfect world, the only thing preventing you from using each ability immediately one after the other is resource management, in our case heat or ammo. And to manage that, we can insert zero cost abilities, such as rapid shots between occasional links in the chain, in order to allow our resource to replenish. Of course, we're talking about PvP here, so we are almost never in a completely perfect situation. In the next episode, I'll be covering how to mitigate that with positioning, but you will need to remain flexible at all times. So what is a basic PvP rotation for Arsenal Mercs? Well, people have different preferences depending on playstyle, but here is an opener that works for me. Priming shot, blazing bolts, instant tracer missile, procced by the priming shot, heat seeker missile, blazing bolts, barrage procced by tracer missile, and then rail shot. From there you can move to a simple priority system. Pick the first available ability that meets the requirements. Refresh priming shot debuff if it has dropped off, blazing bolts on cooldown, heat seeker on the target if it has heat signature debuff, 5 tracer lock stack rail shot, priming shot, rocket punch if safe and practical, tracer missile, and rapid shots for filler. Now that's just 7 basic abilities. If you don't normally keybind, now is a great time to start. Numbers 1 to 4 and the acute or tilde character to the left of the 1 key are all easily within reach of WASD, as are Q, E and R. You should practice with these abilities constantly until they become second nature, and you don't need to actively think about which key does what. Muscle memory will eventually allow you to just think, hey, I need a heat seeker right now, and hey, it was already on the way. Boom, headshot. Start by practicing on a target dummy while stationary. Get comfortable with the abilities, how they feel, the sound they make, and their animations. Once it starts to become easy, then start moving. Most of these abilities can be cast on the move, and unless you have a really great spot, you should be moving a lot. So strafe around that dummy a bit, find space, find line of sight opportunities, but keep shooting. But Zach, what about death from above, sweeping blasters, explosive dart? All great abilities, but I wouldn't consider them to be part of a standard rotation. Insert them as required in order to maximise potential on bunched targets. Explosive dart can be useful if someone is trying to cap a node, as even if you get CC'd, it will explode on a delay, potentially saving you an embarrassment. Sweeping blasters is a special case because it procs barrage for blazing bolts even without a target. You can stop for half a second to cast a single tick of this just before a fight to give your first blazing bolts a little extra punch. If targets are bunched together and you can stand and cast, you can replace occasional tracers with sweeping blasters in your standard rotation, but be aware that it does not create stacks of tracer log. Which brings us to the final section, APM or actions per minute. At the start I mentioned 4 things which control the damage you do relative to everybody else, but if you want the single one thing out of those 4 that separates the men and women from the boys and girls, this is it. It is the not so secret sauce that is the difference between doing less than 1k DPS in a warzone or greater than 2k. Simply put, assuming they are playing objectives, the guys with the most kills doing the most damage are simply pushing more buttons and have greater uptime on enemies. Okay, so that sounds a little condescending, so what do I mean by that? Well, take a look at this rotation. That's not bad, right? Now watch this one. As you can hopefully see, in the first rotation there were slight pauses between each ability. Perhaps I was having a little think. Perhaps I was unsure of my keybinds, or worse, misclicked. Perhaps I was saving resources. Or perhaps I'm just in the habit of not starting a new attack until I see the previous one has completed. All of these delays add up to a significant loss in damage opportunity over the course of a single fight. So what can you do? Well, first you should set the ability queue in options if it is not set already. To be honest, I can't remember if it is by default. This means you can queue up a second ability as the first one finishes, so that they chain together seamlessly, even if you have some network latency. Second, get in the habit of casting abilities back to back generally. The more you do it, the less you'll have to consciously think about it. Most abilities trigger what is called their global cooldown the moment they are activated. This is usually a 1.5 second delay during which nothing can be cast. As I said though, this delay starts the moment the ability is activated, not after the cast. So abilities which themselves take at least 1.5 seconds to cast before alacrity have no delay after they are launched. This means in practice that it can be worth pairing cast abilities with instant attacks in situations where you can't just stand stationary for too long. Good examples of this would be Tracer followed by Heatseeker, or Tracer followed by Rapid Shots, allowing you to move in the short delay between pairs. Third, if you have to move when you'd rather be standing and casting, or if your resource is low, or something is causing you to break your attack chain, keep shooting. Even just rapid shots as you relocate is damage done that would otherwise be wasted. Even after the effects of armour, you may be talking about over 2000 damage every time you hit that silly little filler ability, so just do it. And finally, what are you going to do when your current enemy is dead? You are going to kill them, right? Think and plan ahead a little. Take all that brain space that was previously devoted to working out all those attacks that you can now do automatically, and use it to work out where your next target is. Start manoeuvring into a position from where you can instantly swap to a fresh victim. And although we're going to cover it in more detail another time, think about where you're going to go once your node is under control, assuming you're not the designated guard. Always be thinking a few steps ahead. If you find yourself frequently not shooting while you have to maneuver to the next enemy, then it is possible you can refine your positioning to eliminate this downtime. More on that next episode. That about wraps things up for now. I hope that if you have any questions, you'll drop me a comment, as I'm happy to help. Thanks for watching. This has been Zachariah with Zachsplains.